I'm Steven. I'm the creator of the MarstekMonitor app. I've created this tutorial to show you the possibilities of the application itself and how to install it, how to configure it. Enjoy! So let's begin here. Where does the app live? The app lives in the menu bar. Right up here you see the icon of a battery. Now the icon is displayed in multiple colors depending on the state of charge, and it also shows you how full the battery is. And as you can see, it is orange at the moment and very much not full. If you click the battery icon, you will see the application appear. And you can do everything you want in the app, and we'll go through all of the various settings. But when you look up here, this pin icon allows you to detach the application and keep it open and on top at all time. Because if right now I were to click outside of the application, it will automatically disappear. And this is what you want in most cases. But sometimes, like for example for this demo, you would like to keep the app open. So what I do is I click the pin icon, and now I have a real window that I can just keep on my desktop, and it will be on top at all time. Okay, so step one. The first tab is the batteries tab. In the batteries tab, you have your various batteries. You see the state of charge, so what the percentage is. You see whether the battery is charging or discharging or just doing nothing. You see what the configuration is, so in this case it is set to automatic or self-consumption. You see the wattage that is being drawn or charged, and below here, this is what we call the spark line. It shows you the state of the battery during the last 24 hours. So you can see here we have been charging, we have been discharging, etc. And then at the bottom you have the total capacity. So if you have multiple batteries, it shows you the total for the multiple batteries combined. It's all settings that you can enable or disable, but we'll go into the settings in the next chapter. Let's take a look at the GridFlow. The first tab in the GridFlow is the graph. The graphical representation of what our battery has been doing over the last 24 hours. You can see, for example, here, this is where I charged my car. So you have a big spike of power usage, and it was definitely not fully covered by the battery. The red line is what my battery has been doing, or the combined batteries have been doing. Green is what you've been sending back to the grid. So you see I managed to keep the zero line for the grid in most cases. But for sure, if you start charging your battery, then or your car battery, then you will see this massive spike. Here, I was playing around yesterday with some settings in preparation for this video, so I've been sending back some wattage. You'll also see in almost virtual real time what the state is, whether you're sending back to the grid or receiving from the grid. And on the right hand side you have your three phases. Now this is, of course, if you only have one phase, you can also disable this view again in the settings, and we'll go over that. But if you have three phases, it will show you independently for each phase what they are doing, sending or receiving. Very useful if you have solar panels connected as well. Then in the GridFlow you also have the flow tab, and this shows you in a calculated fashion, I must say, because we do not have this data available, but we know and we can calculate that we have our solar panels generating at this moment, what is it, 1.6 kilowatt, which they are being sent to the batteries. It's an approximation. So once we are outside of sun hours, this solar will disappear, and you'll see batteries either discharging or charging, etc. But please do keep in mind this is calculated, it's not an exact science. Here we have the meters. Now the meters, they show you some interesting statistics. They will show you what your usage has been today, yesterday, this week, last week, and even the current month and the previous month. So you know whether you've been self-sufficient or not. And very interesting is this one here below, which shows you your standby power. So this is calculated at night, during nighttime, between 1 and 5 a.m. And basically what it does, it will search for a period of 15 minutes what the lowest charge is that was being requested by your house. And that means at that point, that is the absolute lowest, that is your standby power. And in my case, I see that this is 260 watts, which makes sense in my case because I have multiple PCs and servers running here 24/7. So it is quite normal that this is the standby power. But if you see a peak in there somewhere, then you know that you have a device, either a new device that you've connected and is using a lot of power. So that might be an interesting statistic. Next, we've got the weather tab, and what the weather tab will tell me is for my geographical location, it'll show me what the expected output is. So I see that today is not very sunny, so we only have 8.9 that we can expect maximum. It'll show me what the weather forecast is for the rest of the day and the coming hours. And it will tell me what the peak output will be at what time. It will do this for today and tomorrow. And give you an interesting overview so that you know what to expect. Again, the settings for the weather are separate, and we'll cover that in the chapter of all settings. When we take a look at the info tab gives you the temperature of the battery, capacity, the mode that it's set in, but also it calculates the RTE, so that you know whether your battery is performing up to scratch. And it's a calculation, so in this case it's almost 79%. The other battery is performing slightly better at 80%, which basically means you put 100 kilowatt in, you get 80 kilowatts back in that case. It gives you also some network statistics like the IP address, the MAC address, and the port that you're using. It'll show you the firmware version that you are on, and this is the name by which your battery is known within the Marstek ecosystem and within the Marstek app. So let's dive into the settings. When you click the settings button, it'll give you all sorts of things that you can control. So first, I would suggest that you enable the launch at login. What this will do is it will make sure that when you reboot your system, that the application will be available from the start and you don't need to manually start the application. Keep in mind that the application will collect data constantly from your battery. So if you only launch the application when you want to have a view, then you will see that there will be gaps in the settings like the sparkline or in the GridFlow, because we are not receiving this data from Marstek. It is the application that is collecting that data from the battery. So enable at launch at login. Here you can enable or disable the show totals. Now this is for people that have multiple batteries. So you will see here below, now I've disabled it and you no longer see the total capacity. Let me enable it again, and there you go. So for people with multiple batteries, this is interesting to see. Okay, my 2 batteries together, that's a total of 30%, and we are currently charging with 1.4 in total. But it's a setting you can enable or disable it. You can choose to show or hide the sparkline, and only have just a brief summary without the information of what the battery's been doing. You can change the temperatures to Fahrenheit for the info tab, and then in the GridFlow you could select to show the phase details, yes or no. So for people that only have one phase, you would probably want to disable that. There's a tab that we haven't discussed yet, which is the PV Solar tab. It is hidden by default. If you enable it, it will pop up here, and then in the PV Solar tab you will get information from your solar panels if they are connected to your Marstek system. Now I personally don't have that model of Marstek, so I have no idea what it looks like. Even I've coded this blindly because one of my users asked if I could add it. So it's only useful if you have a particular model of Marstek with PV solar panels enabled. So this is disabled by default. The weather tab, you can select to not see it. If you say I have absolutely no interest in this weather information, you can just disable that part. And then we come to a very interesting part of the app, which is the alarms. Marstek has had some issues in the firmware, whereby sometimes, for reasons that I do not understand, the battery will just change the mode, so it will go from self-consumption to manual. Meaning that instead of discharging your battery, at some point it will just sit there, or it will start charging from the net or from the grid or whatever. So you can receive an alarm if the mode is changed, and you didn't change it. Then you know that there's something wrong. You need to go to the official Marstek app to change your mode. Because, and this I want to stress, the MarstekMonitor app does only monitoring. It does not change any of the settings on the batteries itself. If you want to change a setting, then this is your responsibility. You use the Marstek app to do that. You can also get an alarm if the device goes offline, if it loses the network connection, or if the API suddenly gets disabled or changed or whatever, which sometimes does happen. I've seen it in the past where for the same reason that the mode gets changed, suddenly the API gets disabled. I've also got an alarm if the battery goes below the state of discharge setting that you've put in. So normally you would say, okay, the maximum that you can discharge is 88%. So if you are below that 12%, that is very strange, because it should not happen. I've built in an alarm. If you go below 10%, then you get the alarm. Once you do get that alarm, you can immediately go and check your battery, and you can manually start charging it before it drops even lower, because I've heard people where their battery has dropped to let's say 1% or even 0%, in which case it's really hard to get it started again. So here you get an early warning, and you can immediately take action. You can also get an alarm when the CT gets disconnected. And you can select when you get an alarm if you want to play the alarm sound or not, or just get a pop-up, and I'll show you guys what that looks like in a second. And then there is a separate part for the phone notifications, and that's for the next chapter, because that requires me to also show you and mirror my phone to let you see what is going on. Here you have the automatic check for updates. So when I do put out a new version, that the application, it will check, I believe, once every 30 minutes or so to see if there's a new version available. If there is, it will notify you, and you have the option to either download it or not. That's up to you. You can just say skip this version, and then it will only notify you when another version becomes available. So if let's run this, I know that there's not a new version available. I'm up to date. There is the user manual, so if you really want to read all of the details, then you can just open that here, and you've got the complete user guide available. And you can also jump to the network privacy settings. The reason that is in there is because, of course, the MarstekMonitor app needs access to your network. So when you first install it the very first time, it will ask you this question: do you want to allow the MarstekMonitor app? If for whatever reason you clicked no, of course, it will not work. It will not find the batteries. It will not work at all. If you want to find that setting again, it's right here. And then just in case, if you completely messed up all of your statistics because your system has gone down and you see incorrect measurements either here or in the flow grid or in the meters or wherever, then in this case you could select to reset all of your data, and everything will be wiped, and it will be like you started the application again from scratch. Okay, so those are the settings, and right now, the next chapter, I will show you how to set up the phone notifications. Okay, let's talk about the phone notifications. If you click the button in the setup screen, you get some information. Now, let me begin by explaining that the way this works, the phone notification, is it requires you to have an application installed on your mobile phone. Whether it is an iPhone or an Android device, doesn't matter. The application you need is called Notify. You can get it by either clicking the buttons for the App Store or the Google Play, which I know will not open on your mobile device, but on the actual Mac that you are working on. So to make it easier here, this is the URL, notify.sh. If you click it, it will open the website. You can copy paste or just type this on your mobile device and install the app from there. Now the way this works is that in the app you need a token, and this is a unique code generated for every user on your device. You can copy it and then paste it in the Notify app, and I'll show you how to do that. And then later on, if you want, for whatever reason, you can just generate a new code. But also very useful here, we have the send test notification. This allows you not only to send a test notification to your phone, but we can also use it to show you what the test alarm looks like on your Mac itself. Keep in mind that we have enabled the alarm sound, so you will see what it looks like when you send an alarm. So there you go. Test alarm sent, etc., etc. It gives you information on when it was triggered. And meanwhile, I have seen that on my phone. I need to click this away. Can I bring my phone to the top? I cannot, so let me show you. On my phone, I have received an alarm. I was notified. Do this on my phone itself, and here I've got the Notify app, and here I see that there has been a test alarm, and when I scroll through, not only will you see a number of test alarms, but here, for example, yesterday the mode was changed from manual to auto, and I get an alarm. Of course, it was me that made those changes because I was preparing for this test. But it shows you the kind of alarms that you can receive. Here I had one which I did not do myself. It was an actual error. So immediately I got notified the device had gone offline for whatever reason. So I was able to get it back online again. There's another one in here where I received an alarm. Here we go. The low SOC, so it had dropped to below 10%. So I immediately charged the battery for 1% or 2, and then just let it sit so that it would not drop below a critical level. So that's what this looks like. So let me now show you in Antify how you can add your device. So let me get the screen back here, put myself to the side. So here you have the topic code, and that is what you need to add to your device. So if I copy this code and let me delete what I already have, unsubscribe, so I have an empty screen. So now I say subscribe topics plus topic name. This is where I can put the code in. I will say paste and subscribe, and there you go. I now have my alarms. These are the ones that I received today. Another part of the settings that you can set is the weather tab. In the weather tab, on the top here, you have the weather settings, and let me bring that to the front and myself to the back. So in the weather settings, what you can do is you can put in your specific region, and let's say we go for Brussels and hit the search button, and it will find it automatically. It'll find whatever location you want. Then you set the tilt angle of your solar panels, the direction of your solar panels, and the peak power that you have installed, and it will do the automatic calculation for you based on your specific settings. In order to install the application, the first thing you do is you launch the DMG file that you've just downloaded, and then you get this screen here. You drag the application into the applications folder. Here, copied. Now we need to give this application the correct rights so that it can run. I'm not an official Apple developer. I don't have an Apple developer account, so we need to set the rights to allow this to run on your Mac. Now the easiest way to do this is to launch the website to download a shortcut. So this is the allow MarstekMonitor, get shortcut, allow, and then add the shortcut. Okay, that's done. Now we need to launch that shortcut, and we do that. So now when we have a look in our shortcuts folder, we try to run this once, and it'll say we need to be allowed to execute a shell script. So you say okay, you are allowed to do so, and now we run it. Why doesn't it allow? Yeah, okay, show. We need to allow our application. So open settings, allow scripts, there you go, and now we can finally run the script. Again, allow, and that's it. Now if this all seems difficult and too complicated, what you could also do is the fallback is just go into a terminal window and run this command. Just hit enter. It does exactly the same thing. Once you hit enter, you see that there's no feedback. It just means it worked. If you get an error message, it didn't work, but if you copied it correctly, it will just do nothing else than this. You can now close the DMG file, and that's it. The application has been installed. Now we go for the running of the application for the very first time. Let me show you how to do that. So we now have the application installed, and before we can actually start using it, we need to give some permissions on our mobile phone. In order to do that, you go to the official Marstek application. So let's wait for that to launch, and you'll see my two batteries that are there. Now the first thing you need to do is select your battery. In this case I'll do battery 1. Go to the top right corner and go inside of the settings, and you need to activate the local API. That is this one right here. You can leave port to 30,000, or you can change it, but if you just use the standard, you're okay. And that's it. As of this moment, the application will be able to detect your battery. This is really important. Make sure that you enable the local API, because that's what we're using to communicate with the battery. So let's launch the application for the very first time. There you go, MarstekMonitor. Click. And then some people say it didn't do anything. If you have a close look, now at the top here, you see the icon of a battery. That is where your application is housed. So you click it and it will open the application. There you go. As I've previously said, you can use the tab button here to make sure that it doesn't close by itself. And as you can see, the application is still empty. There's nothing in there. So we need to add the batteries. Now to do that, you hit the plus button. And then you say scan network. Allow. This is really important. If you don't allow here, then you will not be able to find any batteries. There you go. This is the first one and the second one. So it's found both batteries. We can only add one at a time. So let's do that. Let's select the first one and we give it a name. So it's the Venus 3 numbers 1. Okay, we could change the API port if we selected a different one, but let's just add the first one. And as you can see, it'll say loading, sock history will build up in the next 24 hours. It'll take, I think, an hour before the first parts of the sparkline start showing up. Now let's add the second one and we do scan network again. And here's our second battery. Let's select it and say that this is the number 2. There you go. Add, and it'll show up. Now let's just assume that we want to change the order of these batteries. You can do so by clicking this button, and now you can change the order in which they are shown if you added batteries at a later time. To confirm, just hit the OK button. And that's it. Batteries are now in there. They can start accumulating information, but you can already immediately see what the latest state of the batteries is. And as you see, in this case, both are already at 100% fully charged. Last but not least is the premium button. Now you might wonder what it does, so let me click it, and the explanation that you receive is that by going premium you gain no extra features. You gain better rest at night by doing a donation. I've spent a lot of time developing this software, so it motivates me when I do get a little present in the mail from time to time. You can use this here. It links automatically to PayPal, but you can use whatever credit card you have to make a donation if you enjoyed this software. The software is free to use, but it is donationware, and it is appreciated that if you use it and you're happy with the software, that you make a small payment. That's it. Enjoy. Bye bye.